Hello, everybody. We're so happy to have you
Hi
here with
there.
us for our first webinar, Surviving Life with a Narcissist. I'm going to ask everybody if you could mute yourselves, please. And if you want to send a question or a comment, that's fine. Please just go ahead and do that in the chat. Okay.
Let's get started. So surviving life with a narcissist. The most toxic narcissist is lurking. Dr. Erica Karlinsky, and I'm Bob O'Brien. So we'll go ahead and take you through today we're just going to be talking about, what is a narcissist and the main types of narcissists. So if you look at the little cartoon here, I'm nothing and yet I'm all I can think about. It's kind of the perception of a narcissist is they're just all about themselves, that they're self-centered, that they're obnoxious, selfish, they're always right, can do absolutely nothing wrong. They have no empathy for anyone else. They create this larger than life persona, big time carnival barker. Maybe you know some famous people out there that you can attach a name to. And they're very charming. They're very good at what they do.
This is more of what we consider to be the classic narcissist.
Yes.
Right. I think the picture there, though, with that quote, I'm nothing and yet I'm all I can think about. We'll get into why that person is a narcissist, but that's not always what we think of as the classic narcissist. But we'll get into that as we talk about the different types.
Yep.
Okay, so the narcissists hide, but they can't hide from the people closest to them. Once you see them, you can't unsee them ever again. And many of you probably know exactly what we're talking about, that once you're in a relationship with them, once you get to know people and you see a certain pattern of behavior or a feeling that you get from them when you're around them, and they just kind of rub you the wrong way, and you figure it out, right? Finally, you figure it out. You've heard about narcissism enough. You read about it, you watch YouTubes, and then you can't ever see that person as not being a narcissist ever again. And then typically they will just go ahead and only continue to validate that, right? So you'll see it over and over and over again in lots of big ways and really subtle ways in the ways that they behave, the way that they treat you and the way that they treat other people. So not everyone sees the narcissist, but I always tell friends, family, clients, everybody, I say, you don't have to do or say anything. Sit back, watch it play out, because everybody around them is going to eventually see it as well. You don't have to be the messenger. You don't have to go around and warn. You don't have to warn anybody. You don't have to tell anybody that this is what you're seeing. Sit back, be patient. Like I said, let it play out. Unless, of course, they're impacting or hurting someone that you really care about. That's when I would, of course, recommend intervening in some way.
Yeah. So Erica, I have a client that I see that's been married to a narcissist for a few decades. And everybody tells her how lucky, what a doting guy he is, what a nice guy he is. And just recently he's started exposing himself. That doesn't sound right. He started showing his true colors around those folks, around other people closest to her, and they're starting to see what she's been dealing with and what she's been saying. So for the longest time, she said people in her close circle of friends thought that she was crazy, thought that she was too picky. But they're starting to see that because he's not able to control himself. Now that he's so comfortable being that way with her, it comes out in front of other people.
Mm-hmm. So now she's having a harder time tolerating it, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How does narcissism show up? And these are the different types of narcissists. A couple are, like I said, pretty traditional, classic, what we think of, what the general population thinks of. But but a couple of them may even be surprising to some of you. So we're going to go over those. First is the grandiose or overt or malignant narcissist. And do we have a slide on that
We
specifically,
do.
Bob?
Yep. So we're going in reverse order. So we have to go. So we'll just,
Okay.
so we have covert, we have antagonistic, and then communal. So we're going to start, when we walk through these, we're going to start with the rarest and go to the most, not popular, the most, the
Well
most
known.
seen. Well known. There you go.
Yes. So I really love talking about the communal narcissist. I think you know that, Bob.
Yes.
I think maybe because I'm a woman and a mom, and that's a little bit sexist, and maybe I won't say that again next time we do this webinar, or maybe I will. But so many women hide their narcissism behind some of these behaviors. So the communal narcissist, it portrays themselves as selflessly devoted to a group's well-being. They project the image of empathy, selflessness, and morality. They are generous to a fault. And so they'll be the first one to bring the meal to the grieving family. They are the mom that has the information about the field trip before anybody else. These are the women who, yes, personally, I've known. So these were the women who, even if there was a lottery system for parents to go on a field trip with the kids in elementary school, and because so many parents wanted to go on the field trips. And so sometimes there would be a lottery system, and for some reason, some way, somehow, it was one or two moms that got chosen for every single freaking one. And the rest of us, or maybe it was only me sitting back wondering, how'd you do that? What is it? What is it about her? These are also the people, I'm going to say, I'm talking about women. This is my experience in schools being a mom. Okay. The communal narcissist is not only women, but these are also the women who would already have a relationship with the teacher before the first day of school. So it's almost like they work magic. You don't know how they got the information. How were they the first one to find out that that the kid even had an accident and the family needs this or that, and that it's quite frustrating. Obviously, you could see it's frustrating for me. I think
Kind of triggering there, isn't it, Eric?
a little bit, but these are also the people who will post on Facebook or on social media something good that they did. These are the people that are not anonymous. So they want the accolades. It's their identity. Being the generous, philanthropic person is part of their identity. So once you see that you understand that their motivation is really for the accolades and for the attention. So yeah, okay.
Any questions about communal narcissism? Just
No,
feel free.
because I made it clear.
You made it clear. Okay. So if anyone, so any of the questions that we want to kind of bubble up are things that are particular to your situation. So if there are things for your situation, feel free to reach out. We don't have to wait till the end. You can pop up during whatever slide it's on there, so we can go ahead and discuss it as it's going on. So next is the antagonistic narcissist. And for those of us of a certain age, we remember Dirk Dastardly and his little dog Muttley from cartoons on Saturday morning. The antagonistic narcissist is that, kind of that classic villain, the old school villain, even, going into more modern times, like a Darth Vader kind of a thing. There's this aggressive, manipulative behavior to take over people, the constant need to be better than other people. in here, lie, cheat, gaslight. When we talk about gaslighting, it's just completely convincing you of things that aren't real, trying to make you feel like the one that's out of control. I've even seen in the practice people come in and they're with a narcissist that has completely gaslit them into believing that they're the narcissist. So they come in and they say, I worry that I'm the narcissist. I've read this book on it, and I think my husband or wife might be right that I'm a narcissist. And then they'll outline the behavior from their spouse. And it's like, yeah, no, like you just got a really good one there.
It
They,
happens all the time. I hear it
yeah,
all the time from victims in narcissistic relationships where they say, I don't know, Dr. Karlinsky, do you think I'm the narcissist? And I'm always amazed because it's so far from the truth. They are
yes.
really the suffering victim and have been for a long time. But that's how much they've been beaten down by the narcissist.
Yeah, it's really shocking to me. Like the woman that I had talked about earlier in the relationship, she often, I'd probably say every other session, is saying, well, maybe it's really me. Maybe it's not him. Maybe it really is me. And so these types of narcissists, they're willing to exploit the closest people to them, right? They're willing to exploit their spouses, their children, anybody that they can to get what they want, to so that they can get in, get, if they want power, if they want sympathy, whatever they're feeling that they need at the moment, they're willing to just manipulate and use others to get that, regardless of the relationship or regardless of the impact or the hurt that it causes them.
And I just want to add, Bob, that gaslighting is very much also this kind of narcissist, or any narcissist really that uses gaslighting, will do so in a very quiet way. Typically, if you're in a relationship with someone who, when you confront and you are emotional and passionate about something that, this doesn't make sense. How did this happen? I saw, I was in the safe 2 days ago, and, and there was a lot of money in there and now it's gone. And
Mhm.
a narcissist will be very demeaning, maybe put their hands on you and say, I don't know what you're talking about, sweetheart, but it's okay. It's okay. It wasn't there. It wasn't there. I don't know what you're thinking. You've really been stressed out. You've been working a lot. So they're really good. They're so good that they'll do it in a seemingly loving way, a compassionate way, making you feel like they're really understanding and caring.
Mhm.
But what they're doing is they're making you doubt what you know to be true.
Yes. So we do have a question about the antagonistic narcissist, which I guess can go to any of them. And the question comes to us and it says, do these narcissists become narcissists further into the relationship, or are they always there?
This type of narcissist, or
And that's, well, it came up during this slide, so I'm assuming this type of narcissist, but it didn't. It just said the narcissist.
okay,
Narcissist, yeah.
okay. Most narcissists have spent most of their adult life in that, and they've been reinforced. They've been rewarded for the behavior in many ways. So
Mhm.
most narcissists have gotten a lot of what they want through their narcissism. And I hate to say that a lot of people grow up, getting so many accolades and praise. A lot of narcissists were, raised by a narcissist. And
Mhm.
so, yes, you can learn the behavior. You really can, from one parent or another. And narcissism is, if you're really skilled, um, it you can get what you want. You can get the attention, the accolades, the appearance of success. And yeah, they'll usually go from one relationship to another. If they are in a relationship with someone who gives them a lot of their what we call supply,
Mhm.
they'll stay in that relationship for a good long time, as long as their narcissism, their ego, that
Yes.
grandiosity is getting fed, they will stay.
Well, and that's, when I think of that question, the thing that it makes me think of is when we first get involved in a new relationship, there's so much that we give to each other, right? So um, it's a very giving relationship at first until people kind of settle into that being in love and everything, until they settle in and they kind of get into the normal flow of it. So they are getting fed up front. So they're not going to resort to the things that they need. Some of these things, gaslighting, cheating, lying, whatever, until that stuff starts to go away, until the relationship settles down into its normal flow. That's when these kind of behaviors will sometimes appear.
Yes, yes, good point.
Yep. Okay. So on to covert narcissists. So we have a picture here. Popular Netflix show You. The main character, Joe, is a classic covert narcissist. Um, it's also known as vulnerable narcissism. So it's someone that has difficulty fitting in. They might look like they have social anxiety, or they might have social anxiety. They're the ones that will really try to blend in and hide into the background, but their mind is always going, and they will do passive aggressive behavior all the way through hardcore revenge, which again, if you've seen the show, that's what it's about, right? So it's more of that martyr type syndrome. That's where they get a lot of their feeding. Like, people will look at them and want to give to them because they feel that they're needing it rather than demanding it like a grandiose would.
I would say that covert narcissists are very angry,
Yes.
very angry. Usually, covert narcissism it develops over truly being a victim in the past, maybe victim of abuse, some kind of trauma, or over and over again, unhealthy relationships, not being treated well. Like, I don't know if they explain in the show what Joe's background is. I watched some of the show, but not all of it. I don't know what about his background, his family, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if his mom was a narcissist, a real, a different kind of narcissist, and didn't treat him well. He
There yeah,
feels
there was abuse, yeah, in his background.
there was, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So they cast him. They wrote that well, because that's a classic. The covert narcissist is a classic victim of childhood abuse, or just not being treated well over and over again. Yeah. So there's a lot of anger. They're scary. They're very scary. Covert narcissists are very scary.
So, another question popped up about covert narcissism. Since the background is from an abusive slash traumatic childhood, or at the hands of somebody else, is that something that can be treated? To Normally, we don't think of narcissism as being cured, right, or curable. And so this is, can that person be treated and eventually helped?
I say yes. I say yes because for example, what we do in our practice is we help people understand how their past, how their childhood um, cre created, their emotional makeup now. So what they need to do, the work that we would do with Joe is, work on, his mom, the abuse, all of that trauma, which he really can heal from. And so I would hope that for someone like Joe, that he could heal from all of that, which doesn't ever mean having to confront his mother. We never tell people that they're going to need to do that, right? Because you don't need to do that in order to heal. And that's the beauty of therapy. But yeah, I think that with the right kind of therapy, covert narcissists can heal. What do you think, Bob?
I think so. I think the difficulty is convincing that person to come in and get treatment.
Right.
Because that's with as with all narcissists, right? I mean, they don't, it's their, that's their reality. And so they have to really kind of be willing to accept that their reality is not truthful. It's not what it is. And that's, you know, the folks that I've had come in, especially the couples, when I've had somebody come in that did have a narcissistic partner, that person stays for 2 or 3 sessions and then they're out, because it's not, they're not coming for therapy. They're coming to support their spouse or their partner who really needs the therapy to make the relationship work, because they're not doing anything wrong. So getting them to admit that they have the issue, you know, is the first part of them starting to want to heal. So, but I mean, I think definitely with this type of person, absolutely, because we look at what trauma does to people in other ways, shapes, and forms, and those are all something that they can heal from.
Yeah.
Another question about the covert narcissist that says, is this the narcissist that will smear your name, that will go out and do things to make you look bad, the one that always plays the victim? And from my opinion, yes, because
Yes.
that's what the whole revenge piece is, right? They don't get what they want. And, you know, in a relationship, if you're the one that ends the relationship, they will exact their revenge. They'll get upset because it's that you took that out of their control.
Yeah, that's the anger. They're so
Yeah.
angry. Yeah, they're so angry. And so if they can't hurt you, directly because you're not around anymore, you won't put yourself in that position to actually be, with them. You're not in a relationship. They'll find other ways, indirect ways of hurting, or would they at least something that's going to give them satisfaction if they think they're hurting you. So what we do with the victim in relationships like that, situations where people aren't in the relationship anymore, um, what we do is we help that person, the partner who's recovering, we can help those people actually not feel the impact. You really can do it. You really can get to a point where it doesn't matter anymore how much they're trying to hurt. You don't feel it. And it's so great when that happens, because it really can happen. But I think when people are really, knee deep in the relationship and just out of it, and that smear campaign is going on, it's awful. It's awful. I mean, you just feel it in every cell of your body, like how it makes your blood boil, and you just want to put that person's face through a window, right? But with the right kind of therapy, you don't want to, and you don't even care to spend the energy even thinking about it. And that's great.
And the worst thing about this is that by doing the revenge, like once the relationship has ended, by doing those revengeful tactics, what they're doing is they're sucking you back into their world. And when you respond, when you even something, depending upon how severe they are, you can call the police and they enjoy it because they know that they are living rent free in your brain, and that's what they want. You
Yep.
know, you took control and broke up the relationship, but they're showing you that they have control back over you by getting into your head. And so they, you know, the longer that you try to fight, it's like one of those, and I can't remember the name of it right off the top of my head, but it's like one of those traps that the more that you fight, the harder it is to get out. So you just have to kind of surrender. To your point, Erica, you have to surrender, and say, you know what, this person, you don't give them the power. You turn away from the monster under the bed and they disappear.
Yep.
Okay, good
Okay.
questions.
Yes, thank you.
So finally for today, we have the grandiose narcissist. Um, I'm going to let you take this because sometimes I get a little too this is my thing that triggers me. So I'll let you take this one.
Oh, well, I mean, we all know these people, right? These are the politicians, the politicians that we love to hate. The grandiose narcissist is the person that's out there. They are the poster child for narcissism, excessive need for admiration, recognition, attention seeking. They brag to the point where you look at them and listen to them and you wonder, like, don't you realize what an a-hole you sound like? But they don't care. That's just it. They don't care because there's always someone in the crowd who's willing to listen. And
And
as long as they have an audience, they're gonna keep going.
and the more that they lie, the more that it becomes the truth, because more and more people, you repeat a lie often enough and it becomes the truth.
Yeah.
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 So yeah, and
But
it is that excessive overconfidence, right? What's amazing about these people is nothing is ever their fault. So they could be caught doing something red-handed and figure out a way to blame it on somebody else, and and really they're convinced, and they do a good job of convincing others that, hey, it's not my fault. The one thing about this slide, because if you've worked in corporate America before becoming a therapist, I worked in corporate America for many years, and this is why this triggers me so much. I've known so many of these people, and they ascend so quickly into leadership positions. Because of how good they are at selling themselves. They're not really good at their jobs. They're generally not in their jobs long enough to be good at it, but they talk such a good game and they bounce from company to company, constantly climbing that ladder. And eventually, when they get into a leadership position, they put the entire organization at risk. So this is something you see a lot. We talk about politicians, we talk about, from the corporate perspective, they want a lot of power. They just don't want a little bit of power. Like the covert narcissist, if they have power over the person in their relationship, they're good. This person wants to control a lot, wants to control as much as possible. There was a great example of this is from a business perspective, is there was if anybody remembers, again, we're going back to I'm really showing my age on this thing here. Sunbeam products, right? Like the electronics and everything that were popular in the 70s and 80s. There was their CEO, this guy got brought in to straighten out the company, and his name was Al Dunlap, but he was called Chainsaw Al. He was almost people looked at him like this mobster of corporate America, because he would come in, just no concern for people, whatever, would just would make a big deal, save companies a ton of money, and do all of these things that everybody else didn't want to do, grab these big bonuses and exit the company as quickly as possible. And when he did this to Sunbeam, he bankrupted the company, but he ended up making, I think, $60-80 million on it in the process. And this is what they do. It doesn't matter. There's complete and total disregard for anybody in their path. He had this admiration, and all of these corporate types wanted to be him. And it wasn't until he destroyed that company that people finally got an idea for who he was. And what's funny is he kept trying to do other things, even though he had more than enough money to retire comfortably. It wasn't about that. It was about his reputation and wanting to be in control and wanting to take bigger and bigger things. So yeah, this one, if you have been in that, that arena, it's always an interesting thing to see. And we have a comment from the folks out there, says this one, yes, always the blame game. It's never their fault. Absolutely. Why take responsibility if you don't need to? So
yeah, and it's amazing because those of us who are actually healthy, we know how valuable ownership of responsibility is, and how far that can go in relationships, both at work and at home, everywhere in life, right? To be able to say, I was wrong,
yeah.
but they are so afraid. The narcissist is so afraid of that they see that as weakness. Any ownership of responsibility is weak, and they're so afraid of that they're going to come down a notch or two or 100 if they take ownership. And the truth is, like I said, those of us who are healthy, we know that's not at all the case. And actually, it makes them more likable to us, and it makes us respect them more. And we actually might want to be around them. But these are the people that most of us who are healthy don't want to be around at all.
Exactly. And we do have another question about this flavor of narcissist that comes across, and it says, I work in the corporate field. What do I do when I work with these people? How can I combat this? And from my experience, I don't know that combating is really an option, because they're going to win at all costs. They don't, the moral grounds that I think a lot of us have in the job world or whatever, they don't have. They will stab people in the back. They will climb on the bodies to the top. What do you think, Eric? Like, what's a good way for somebody to combat this in a business perspective, in a business environment?
Don't even think about combating it. The more energy that you give these people, the more they are winning, actually. So the way that you win in this game is you don't play. You stay who you are, you do what you do, you get better at what you do. If the narcissist is the one who promotes and is not promoting you because you're not sucking up, sorry, that's just the best way to put it. I would say, if you get to a ceiling at your job, and because you're not giving them what they want, maybe, look elsewhere. Now, if giving them what they want isn't going to cost you a lot, emotionally, go ahead, throw them a bone every once in a while, right? Because if it's not going to cost you your self-esteem, your self-worth, right? Then go ahead and tell them, thank you. I really appreciate what you do here. Or, whatever it is, the narcissist, this kind of grandiose narcissist, is going to take whatever you give them, and they're going to magnify it in their own mind anyway.
Yeah.
So you don't have to ambush them with a lot of love. You really don't.
That's the big piece of this that I learned the hard way in that life, was that challenging them did nothing for me. One of the things that we tend to do in our lives, and whether it's at work or wherever, was we try to take our values and push them onto other people and say, okay, this is you're not doing this. This is not ethical. This is not right. And we try to hold them to a standard that they don't care about. And the more that we do that, the more frustrating it is for us, and the lower that ceiling gets that you were talking about. So, in a lot of times in leadership positions, you have to kind of, as you said, suck it up, nod your head, leave,
throw them a bone,
throw them a bone, and then walk out of their office and maybe take a walk around the block. Yes.
Keep doing you. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, normally we don't preach avoidance with folks, but when you have somebody like this, staying under the radar and just coming out when you need to with them in a work environment is the best thing to do. Now, okay, another question comes up, like, well, what if you're married to this person?
Well,
only so much you can avoid.
yeah. Okay, I don't know who asked the question. I'm not opening up the chat because Bob is opening up the chat. I would say, this requires I would ask a lot of questions. Why are you staying? What would be the cost in, leaving this person? What is it costing you emotionally to stay? Are you staying for the kids? A lot of people do. Trust me when I say kids are a lot more resilient than you think they are, or that you want them to be, because it's easy to say you're staying for the kids. But kids are fine if the parents are fine. And if you're in a relationship that is wearing you down, beating you down, really eroding your self-esteem and your self-worth, you're not being good to your kids or for your kids. And if your partner is this kind of a narcissist or is any kind of narcissist, then your kids are feeling it too. Your
Yeah.
kids are being impacted by that. Now, you don't want to take your kids away from their parent, absolutely not, as long as they're not being abused. If their parent is just a narcissist, sometimes it's much better to actually separate yourself from them. So your kids are getting a real healthy home with you. And
Mhm.
you can also put your kids in therapy so that they can learn how to navigate their role with the other parent. So it's complicated. It's very complicated when your partner is a narcissist. Yeah.
It really is. And you know, to your point with kids, a lot of times we think that kids, you know, we look at that it's better in a two-person or in a two-parent home. But I've had quite a few clients whose that I see that are middle-aged, a little older, their kids are in college, and they come in and say, you know, I waited until my kids graduated and then I finally got divorced, and my son is angry that I waited that long. I have a woman now that I see whose 14-year-old daughter is like, when are you going to divorce this man? Like, when are you going to get out? And the damage that's done to that child, if we think, okay, that, you know, they're two parents and we're with them all the time, the damage that's being done is not only because they're seeing you go through this abusive process, but what are they learning? They're learning that it's okay to tolerate this, or they're learning that it's okay to behave like this. If, you know, that you're, like you said, it's so complicated. I have a couple more questions. Actually, no, we don't. We just had a couple comments. So
Excuse
yeah,
me, everybody. I have to turn around and get my charger.
So, you know, I think that that as we think of the four types of narcissists that we've discussed today, we really have to you know, say that this is what we've talked about just scratches the surface, but it gives you an idea, if you have these people in your life, exactly what you may be experiencing. Obviously, if you have somebody like this is very informational, and we can answer questions about specific situations, which is what we're doing. But we also don't want to make it seem like this is it. It's a spectrum, right? So if you are with somebody like this, that has narcissistic tendencies, the best thing to do is to find you know, some help in your area, to get some therapy, some mental health therapy, and you know, virtual, whatever it is, just to kind of arm yourself with the tools that you need to be able to not necessarily combat, because I agree with Erica, combating is not necessarily the best thing with this type of personality, but so that you know how to create those boundaries for yourself. Another question that popped up is, can somebody be a combination of two or more of these types of narcissists, or do they always fall into a category?
Oh, okay. So they definitely can be. They can be a little bit of each one, or, you know, two or three or all of them. And I would say that they learn exactly what kind of narcissist they need to be in each situation. So in corporate, it's worked for them for many years. They've climbed the ladder. They are where they are because they have been, this grandiose and, not taking any blame, yada, yada, yada. It works. They're going to be that kind of narcissist. They're probably not going to be that kind of narcissist at home with their partner, because that's an obnoxious kind of personality to live with. So that the grandiose narcissist may become more of a covert narcissist at home, with their with their partner. They'll do a lot more of, the subtle gaslighting, right? You think so,
Yeah.
Bob? Yeah.
I agree. I mean, it's rare. I like the folks that I've had come in. It is really rare that they are that obnoxious at home.
Yeah.
The woman that I keep bringing up, and this is because it's such an interesting case. Her spouse is the opposite. He is very obnoxious with her, only with her. Puts it in her face. Everything. Not even with the kids. It started coming out with the kids about 4 or 5 years ago, and then it started like seeping out into to everybody else, to his parents, to her parents, to everyone else. He's the victim. The same thing to his kids, but to her, when he's in private, when he knows that they're home alone and everything, and I guess this is a covert behavior too. He's got that rage, he's got that anger, but he's also got that I am all of this, I'm up here and you're down here, and don't forget it. And it's yeah, it's very interesting. And like I said, she's been with him a few decades, and is just, she's struggling to get out of it.
I hope she does.
I do too.
Yeah.
Any other questions before we
Yeah. Any other questions? So should we give everybody a little bit of a preview for what we're going to cover tomorrow?
No. Yes, yes, we should. We absolutely should. So tomorrow is where we move on into what happens when you're in a relationship with the narcissist. So damage to your self-esteem. How can you move past that? How can you what kind of damage will you have? And what are the best ways to combat that and heal yourself? And how do you prepare yourself to get involved in a positive relationship? Because at some point in time, you're going to want to get back, whether it's a romantic relationship, whether it's a relationship with your parents, if you're the child of a narcissist, sibling, whatever it is. I mean, there's got to be ways that you can continue to have that relationship while establishing boundaries and keeping yourself safe.
Yeah, getting out of a relationship with a narcissist, no matter who that person was in your life, is the damage that they do is traumatic. It is real trauma. And if you've been in a relationship with a narcissist and you have friends who haven't been, they are not going to understand. They're just not going to understand why 2 months later, 2 years later, you're still getting triggered and you still have fear. The damage that they do is huge. That's why I say this is one of the most toxic kinds of relationships that you could be in,
Mhm.
because recovering and healing from it takes a very, very long time. And if you're out of it, people are just happy. Okay, you're out of it. Great. You know, you're out of it, but you're having to rebuild yourself
Absolutely.
from crumbs, from mud, because you've been so stomped on. Um,
Yes.
it's really hard. It's not impossible, but it's hard.
Yep.
Yes, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that damage and how to recover. The other thing I just want to say, I'll just repeat it again tomorrow, but it feels so, we blame ourselves for missing the narcissist. So we got out, it's good, everyone's happy, we should be happy, and yet we're not happy. And that's because we miss them. And then we feel guilty for missing them when we know we shouldn't. So it's levels of self-doubt and questioning, and why am I feeling this? He was so horrible to me. She was so horrible to me. Why do I miss him or her? Why do I want them back? I know I don't want them back. Why do I feel like I want them back? It's really, really, really hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that'll be day 2. So we look forward to seeing you tomorrow at
Same time.
Yes, same time, same channel. So
Yes,
thank you, everybody, for the comments, for the questions, and we look forward to talking to you tomorrow.
yes. Thanks,
Have a great
everybody.
afternoon.
Have a
Bye-bye.
great day.